For me, my journey with the law really began as a child.
Both of my parents, they met at the same law firm.
So I was always told as a kid that I could talk to a brick wall and argue my way through anything.
I've experienced what it's like to have the law be used as a tool of oppression.
A lawyer literally saved my mom's life.
My family background it's very much in law, so this was something I was acquainted with and that I saw, was exciting, was thrilling sometimes. And to be honest, in a way, in the beginning, it was very much a reason to kind of push back against the idea of studying law. I did explore and ultimately, on my own terms, decided that this is what I wanted, that this is what gets me going, what makes me passionate.
Growing up, I never thought about becoming a lawyer. It wasn't until after working in policy and civic engagement for many years that I realized that lawyers were tasked with wrestling and ultimately answering the tough questions that govern our society.
A lot of the questions I had were around justice and the treatment of people, and it always kind of just boiled down to money. Why should someone work for 12 hours a day and still not be able to have the services and access to justice that they need?
I'm a fifth-generation rancher from Wyoming, Colorado. My ranching community was particularly sensitive to changes in the trading market, and feeling these larger invisible forces just dictate my community's success really inspired a dream to attend HLS and then to help be that voice that's fighting for change and help advancing opportunity.
Being a biracial and queer woman, a lot of spaces aren't made for us. Most spaces, honestly, aren't made for us. And so the prospect of being able to break into those spaces and lift as I climb. I have an interest in sports law in particular, and there just aren't a lot of women in that field.
Coming from news media and helping to run a startup, I met so many leaders, so many world leaders and business leaders, and the people with whom I was always most impressed were the ones who had legal education.
The only side of the law that I had known was really stuff you see on TV shows. I had the opportunity to work with a lot of great M&A lawyers, and seeing a different side of the law. What I loved most about this profession was that there's always a process of negotiation. There's a process of give and take and a lot of discussion that happens among the parties, so that everyone on every side feels like they're coming to a good place.
I've spent the last several years working within the DC, within a national security community. What I've learned is that the law is critical. It's really been the department and agency lawyers who have proved to be the most valuable in protecting our system of laws and holding each administration to its legal duties and obligations.
My father was incarcerated for 9 years, so I think I had this personal connection with kind of the consequences of the law. And because of that, it made me raise a lot of questions growing up. I came to the conclusion that maybe a career in law would be the best way to become an agent of change.
I started coaching a Little League baseball team in Inglewood on the south side of Chicago. It's a police youth league. So we try to bring together police officers and the youth in the community to help build police-community relations. That felt like I wasn't doing enough. There's only so much you can do as a volunteer, and there's a lot more that I could do as a lawyer. I realized I needed to really take a systems level view, and that's pushed me towards criminal justice reform, learning as much as I can.
I went to law school first time in Algeria. I saw a lot of women where I lived being mistreated. If they revolt or say something against what is taken as normal cultural behavior, they fall victims to cultural shaming. I just did not feel comfortable to be in an environment like this and not do anything about it.
I was studying for the MCAT. I was a double major in biology and economics, so I did all the prerequisites for medicine. I was fortunate enough to get elected to my local school board in Jersey City. I found myself trying to understand the nuances in the law, trying to understand why certain things were set up certain ways. And doing all of that, I kind of realized instead of medical school, and no disrespect to doctors, I think their work is really, really important. I felt like it's really important to have that sort of legal education and to really understand the mindset of the people who are writing laws and interpreting laws.
As a child of immigrants, I always saw myself working in education because neither of my parents was ever able to receive a formal education. Witnessing everything that was going on at the border in 2017, I began to understand that communities like those of my parents could not have access to education if they were not given access to the asylum process.
So about 15 years ago, my mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. We did the best we could, but eventually it reached the point where we knew we needed professional help. So the hospital let us know that we were going to most likely need a lawyer to get her into a nursing home because she's so young. So we reached out to a lot of attorneys. Almost all of them said no, except for one who decided to take us on pro bono. She worked through the whole process of getting her the funding she needed, fighting for her benefits. It was just knowing how to jump through the legal hoops that existed that most people don't understand, especially underrepresented minority groups. I want to help others the same way she helped my family.
I want to go to law school because I want to learn to think like a lawyer.
The law offered the opportunity to continuously interrogate society, interrogate why things are the way they are.
It empowers you to be an agent for others, to stand up for the values that are otherwise threatened.
I want to be a leader. I want to be a change maker. I want to be an agent of change.
And so I think what drew me to law is the ability to be on the front lines, be the boots on the ground, and to really try to make some change from the inside.